Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Amplify with Adam. I'm really excited about this episode we have today. We have Ward McKee joining us from Competition Werkes. Ward, thank you so much for giving us a little bit of your time, and thanks for joining.
My pleasure.
Awesome, awesome. Well, Ward, I gave a little hint of kind of where you're from and whatnot, but tell us a little bit about Competition Werkes and about yourself.
Well, Competition Werkes started almost 40 years ago. In my mid-20s, I started racing motorcycles, dirt track, flat track. And as you can imagine, there's expenses involved. So I was always looking for a way to boost my income a little bit and looking for little things that I could do. And I did okay with a few things. They were motorcycle related. And then I started with a little project called, we call it a fender eliminator kit, which eliminates back fender on a sport bike. It kind of cleans it up. Guys like to make it look more like a race bike.
Yeah.
And so I had a little machine shop around the corner. I had to make 25 for me, and I put an ad in the little Cycle News, a weekly paper. And probably took a month and a half. I sold them, went and got another 25 made. And just worked out of my garage there. I was in a condo in Los Angeles, and pretty soon became more than a weekend project. And I got to the point where I had to give something up. I was working for Amtrak at the time downtown, and I wasn't making enough with the fender kits really to make a living there. But I thought maybe if I moved to another area where the economy was a little kinder.
Yeah, the cost of living was a
I
little
loved
lower.
Oregon. Oregon was always an attraction for me. So I made the move. I quit the railroad. And it took me about 2 years to get the business where it was really paying the bills. I would do some odd jobs on the side.
Mm-hmm.
And it just, where it really took off though, was when I decided to do the manufacturing myself.
I was about to say, so you were outsourcing originally, and then when
Yeah.
you moved to Oregon, is that when you got into manufacturing yourself?
Yes, because I was doing, some of it was still being made in LA. I found some locally, but it just was really getting to be a headache, and the lead time. The
Mm-hmm.
real key to getting a product to market was how quickly you could do it. I was starting to get competition at that point, so it was really imperative that I got the product out quickly. And so I made the jump. I purchased what machines I thought would do the job, and went from there. And it grew quite rapidly until the economy tanked. And it wasn't just that people weren't buying as much, but everybody was scrambling, trying to find some way to save their business.
Yeah.
And they saw fender eliminator kits as a way to do that. So I had tons of competition. It really was hurting. So I was looking for other areas. I'd started into the exhaust just before the economy tanked. It was something that always interested me, and I saw it as an opportunity. Originally, I just wanted to build prototypes and have it outsourced to China, Taiwan,
Mm-hmm.
which we tried to do, but we just got garbage back. We couldn't find anyone that could make a quality product. So we either had to give it up or make it ourselves. So we had just started into that. That's surpassed our fender kits now. So that's more than 50% of our business. So, but always still looking for something to try to boost what I had. And that's where I kind of saw Zometry, and it interested me. I like prototyping work. I don't really like production. And so Zometry was really up my alley because I really enjoy figuring it out and getting the product done. And then I really don't want any more to do with it. So,
so 1984, you're in California, and when did you make the move to Oregon? Like how many years until you
88,
got
but it took me about 4 years to get to Oregon.
And then so once you're in Oregon, right? Like I see that you have 3, 4, like the amount of machines that you have. How much did you grow in the first couple of years versus like how quickly did you kind of learn the ropes of manufacturing to get to the point where you're not just making the fender eliminator kit, but you're actually taking on job shop work from Zometry, right? Like you're learning the ropes there. So how long did that take you?
Yeah, well, as you know, it never stopped learning.
Yeah.
Originally, I didn't really know anything about sheet metal work. I did a little for the railroad, but it was just HVAC kind of stuff. But whenever I would call the company to have order parts, I'd hear the guy that I was talking to say, "Hey, is the Amada available for next week?" And so this name Amada kind of stuck in my head. So when I started thinking about manufacturing, I looked in my online and found Amada,
Mm-hmm.
called them up, and I didn't really know what I was doing, and they sent me plane tickets and said, "Come down and visit us," and they treated me really first class. And so I bought a shirt punch and a press brake, and I still, that's been 20. I bought those right around 2000, 1999, and they're still going strong today. I wouldn't buy any other brand.
That's awesome.
And then we added a laser about 9, maybe 10 years ago. We added a small laser, and but yeah, the learning part, we took the classes that got us enough to get going.
Yep.
And you always, especially on the press brake, there's so many, and with the jobs from Zometry, some of them are really quite a challenge. So I'm learning ways to use tooling, and even we make a few of our tools now for special jobs, and now I'm having to deal with radiuses and things that I didn't really pay much attention to before.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome, man. I mean, continual education is so important. It keeps it interesting. So I see that you've got 15 people working for you at a 12,000 square foot facility. When did you start to get to a point where you could start growing your shop like that?
When I first moved to Oregon, I had a 2-car garage that had a small, maybe 400 square foot, what I'd call a shop area. And we outgrew that in about, the first 2 years, we were just kind of barely making it. About 5 years, I outgrew that. And then we moved where I had a bigger shop, had about 1,000 square foot shop. And then we built another shop next to it, 1,500 square foot. And so that helped. That's probably worked for about 3-4 years. And then we outgrew that. And then we looked, somebody was leasing part of a building in Sutherland, which was about 12 miles away. And I went and looked at it. It was a nice little setup. And we leased, I think, a fourth of the building. So about 3,000 square feet. And that only lasted about a year. And they were wanting to downsize. So we had built a wall, and we just moved the wall down the shop.
Yeah.
Got another 3,000 square foot. So we had half the building. And then they decided to sell, and we didn't want to lose the opportunity. So we bought the building, and we used the whole thing. And we're looking at maybe even building another shop next to that one.
That's awesome.
In the near future. So
I love the slow and steady growth, and maybe not that even slow, just steady growth and expansion there. Now, so what's interesting to me is that you got into manufacturing kind of after outsourcing to it, and there's a lot of intricacies, not just to actually making the part, but like quality control and kind of the shipping and fulfillment, et cetera. How did you kind of intake some of those processes? Like, how'd you learn along the way for like QC processes? Is that something you brought from another role, or is that something that you leaned on existing contacts of the manufacturing space, or just learned as you went?
That's where it's ask questions.
Yeah.
I'd always ask anytime, even if I look stupid, I ask the question and learn from others, their mistakes, their successes, and my own. I made mistakes along the way, and I tried to learn from them. And as you kind of pointed out, it was a slow, steady progress rather than making a big jump into something that I wasn't sure of. And we experimented with a lot of things. Some things worked, some didn't. But we had enough success that we were able to keep the growth going.
That's awesome. Now, when you're saying you're learning from others, is that like a local Oregon manufacturing community, or how did you make connections within the industry?
That's a good question. I never really had a mentor or a shop where I really could go ask questions. It was just other people in business
Hmm.
And it wasn't so much how to do things, but how to support the business.
Yeah.
Uh, like getting online, that was a big thing, because I was in the middle of just getting a computer and trying to learn how to use a computer, and I remember getting so fed up with it, I shut it off for a year. I didn't use my computer for a year, and things were progressing where I had to learn the computer, and finally I was able to get the right programs. I didn't have programs that really suited what I was doing.
Right.
And in school, I was always interested in drafting. I don't even know if they still call it drafting, but I liked that. And so I took a AutoCAD class at the local college just to kind of learn the basics. And then when we bought the machines, they had classes for their software. And I've always been interested in learning the designing and being able to put things from a sketch on a napkin all the way to a finished product.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And I think that that's like, it's so important as you talk about, the progress in the manufacturing industry from, drawing on a napkin, like I said, like a 2D drawing that's on your paper versus, what a lot of times you find on Zometry now, which is a 3D CAD drawing that you got to program onto your machine, right? So I think that there's been huge leaps and bounds recently in the industry that propels us forward, but can definitely cause some pain points as you're learning them. So, and I also like the idea of I think a lot of folks that make the move from like machine operator to small business owner, right? There are business lessons that you can learn from folks that you're just talking to and working with that apply to a manufacturing small business that may not be manufacturing specific. So highlighting those lessons is really important. Now, when you are thinking about giving advice to your younger self as you're about to get into the manufacturing space, is there anything that you would tell either your younger self or someone interested in getting into the manufacturing space as far as like lessons to look out for as you're entering into it?
Probably one of the biggest things is not take yourself too serious. Sometimes we all have ideas. Somebody says,
Mhm.
"Well, I'm an entrepreneur," but we're all entrepreneurs. Even your wife in the kitchen, she's an entrepreneur. She's figuring things out.
Yeah.
So it's a natural desire to want to make things better. And sometimes you get so attached to something that you're not really open to any other ideas or views, and you kind of spend all your time working on that one idea that you think is great, but maybe isn't something anybody else is interested in. So you got to be willing to move on to other ideas, other projects, and kind of experiment with them. And if you see interest, then you can kind of pursue that avenue. And then learning the basics, getting an AutoCAD class or
Yeah.
different basics, and then you can kind of see the direction that you want to go. Because I've gone down roads that turned out to be dead ends, and you have to regroup.
Yeah, it sounds like you've got a few successful products. Did you have any that you thought were going to be like huge hits that just
Oh yeah, I had
didn't hit the?
patents and different things, and uh, uh, and things golly, if I had, I need 3 lifetimes to be able to do all the things I start and stop. You go through my shop, I got stuff on shelves that are half done and I'm still working on. I've got a couple of things that I'm pursuing, but the time's kind of the factor now.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that never has stopped for me. I've always got some idea, whether it's good or not.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So when you look at, kind of the future, like you're talking about some of the products that you're working on, is there any technology that's kind of drawing your attention or any trends in the manufacturing space that you're kind of excited about or, just what's kind of drawing your eye to the future right now?
Oh, well, back when you could go to an actual machine show, it's like going to Disneyland and you see all the equipment.
Yeah.
And I'm almost looking, I want that equipment so bad, I'm trying to find something that would justify purchasing it. I mean, some of these fiber lasers that they just it's just amazing what they can do. And I'd love to have a fiber laser, and I'd like to have a bigger press brake and engraving machine, and there's a number of different tools that would help me in my business, but the amount of work I do doesn't justify it.
Yeah.
This is right now, but that's kind of where I look forward to.
Yeah, I mean, some of the finishing machines that are coming out are incredible, and like you said, the fiber lasers are it's incredible what we can make now. And one thing that we've heard is that also engineers are designing parts more complex, that because the machines are getting so advanced that you can actually take on more work. Some things that required welding in the past, fifth access machines can just knock that out in a moment, so.
Yeah, in fact, we bought a 5-axis mill, brand new, sitting on my floor, and I lost my operator. So I want to run it so bad, but I just don't have the time. So I'm looking for an operator for that machine. So
Yeah, no, and skilled labor movement is a big topic in manufacturing right now. How is that something that, how are you like combating that? Or is that just a pain point that is kind of existing for you as well?
combating what? What was the question?
Skilled labor movement. So like, your operator on the fifth access, that's a big topic, is that, a lot of job shops, they can be breeding grounds for talented labor for bigger companies, because the talent is necessary, but it's also a hard skill to learn that, a lot of folks aren't taking the vocational, education path that it's required to get to that level.
Yeah, that is a challenge. And a company, and most of my employees have been with me for 10 or more years, and you don't just want a skilled employee, you want somebody that'll fit in.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm careful when I get an employee. I almost would rather train someone than get someone that's already trained.
Yeah.
Our welders, we found we have a lot better success training someone to weld the way we want our welds done, rather than getting a skilled welder. But as far as that's the CNC 5-axis machine, that's beyond me right now. And so
Yeah.
I am trying to find someone. I've got someone I'm interested in, but I would have to train him. So that's what I'm considering right now. But that getting somebody that has the skill and the knowledge and that really wants to do that is a challenge.
Yeah, and cultural fit is important anywhere you go, and I think that that's a big conversation in a lot of companies right now, and it's cool to see that you're thinking about that. Now, if you were so the advice to anyone getting in is not taking yourself too seriously and kind of learning as you go and constant education. What about if you're approaching kind of the working with Zometry? Is there any lessons that you've learned to how to be successful while working with Zometry?
Learning a program, like I'm having to learn. I'm doing Fusion 360.
Mm-hmm.
That's a whole new experience for me. So I'm learning that so that I can. And that's kind of been a challenge with Zometry. I'm used to getting, and I do some other job shop for another, actually a furniture company. They make stuff for like Taco Bell. They do the furniture and a lot of the Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
And I get a lot of their bracketry. And
I've actually got an old Taco Bell table as a little kitchenette in my kitchen, so like a Taco Bell closed down and I got it from a used furniture store. It's cool little.
Is it fiberglass?
Yeah. It's from like the 80s or 90s. It's cool. So
I see all their fiberglass molds outside. They've gone away from. They don't see them do much fiberglass now. It's all press board and a lot of stainless steel now, and that's kind of where I hooked up with them, because we're basically a stainless steel shop.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm trying to think where I was going with this.
It was lessons that you learned working with Xometry, and you were talking about the furniture store.
Yeah, so when I would get drawings from them, my bend lines were on there. It was very easy. Now with Zometry, I got to find my bend lines, and so that's where this Fusion 360 comes in for me, because I can open the part up, flatten it, and then I can take my measurements. So it presented some challenges for me, but I enjoy the learning process. And some of the parts are amazing as stuff. I kind of go, how do they do that?
Yeah.
And sometimes I want to take the job just to see if I can do it, but I'm not going to hang my neck out there and find out I take a job I can't complete. So sometimes I experiment with some of the things I see on there to see if I can actually do them or how I would do them. So in the future, if I see that job, then I can accept it.
Yeah.
And I'm working with materials I've never worked before. I use 304 stainless. A job comes up, it's 301. I thought, oh, I can get 301, but go try to bend it. It's like spring steel. I'm like, what in the world? So I'm learning, and I like to learn. It's fun.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think that that's a key part of the job board, is that there's so many different types of jobs on there. There's jobs that you can do, and then there's jobs that are learning processes, like you said. And as long as the quality's on the back end, everybody's happy. So it's a win-win. So, but yeah, man, this has been a fantastic conversation. I want to make sure that we cover anything that you wanted to. Is there any kind of final thoughts that you'd like to pass along to the listeners?
Boy, not really. I'm more of a answer the question.
All good, man. You answered them all really, really well. So, well, Ward, man, this was a phenomenal conversation, and thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule and joining us today.
I enjoyed it. Thank you.